Hello, it's Dawn Michelle and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be doing another one-shot reading. So in case you're new to this series, let me quickly go over the idea. So this is a term borrowed from the D&D community where a one-shot is a self-contained game designed to be played in a single session. So with that in mind, my one-shot readings are those that are independent and stand apart from my normal practices. So most of the time I just grab some decks and I see what happens, and that is totally what we're going to be doing today. So the decks that I'm going to be doing this one-shot reading with are the Kai Love Tarot, which I have right here. And this is a beautiful, intuitive, lovely indie tarot deck that I use a lot in my creative work, also in a lot of healing work. It works really wonderful for that. It's a beautiful, beautiful deck. Then to support the one-shot reading here, I have a couple of different oracle decks. So this one here is the Earth Alchemy Oracle. This is a little mass market oracle deck that has, what does it have? Plants and crystals is primarily the focus of this deck. And I think the artwork, as you can see, probably goes really well with the Kai Love Tarot. So all of the decks that I've chosen today, I've really chosen because I feel like as I was going through them, because this one and this one are new to my collection, when I got these two in, I was like, oh my goodness, they're gonna go great with these, and I just wanted to have a little bit of a play, and that's what we're doing with our one shot today. So this one is the Spirit Animal Wisdom, and this has, I do believe it's, well, obviously it's animals. There might be some other association in this deck. I haven't looked at it that closely because again, it's an animal deck. It's also by the same creator team as the Earth Alchemy Oracle, so you'll see that the artwork and the messages and all of that are really cohesive. Then I have this deck here, which is a beautiful indie oracle deck. This is called the Crystal Forest, and this is an incredibly new deck in my collection. This will be my first time actually working with this deck. And what this deck does is it has obviously forests and trees and stuff in it, but every card represents a crystal, and the card itself is designed in the sort of palette and the coloration, variegation, things like that, that you see in the stone. So like this one, for example, is based on Bumblebee Stone. The only issue with this deck is that I most of the time can't read what it says on it, and the keywords are really, really small. I mean, some of them are fine. Like, so here's a good example. This is Blue Gold Stone, and authenticity is the key phrase. Some of these are really hard to read. It's like foiled shiny gold, so if you turn it into the light, you can see it on those lighter cards. So that's helpful, but it does have a guidebook, so I'm able to work with that with the guidebook. So today, that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be taking all of these decks, and we're going to just create a beautiful one-shot reading just for fun. So to start things off, I'm going to give each of my decks a little shuffle, because that is part of the process, right? Shuffling the decks, thinking about the reading, thinking about what energy messages might come through for us in this reading. Again, these one-shots are completely just separate from anything else that I do. So it's not like I'm looking for a particular message to support a particular practice or anything like that. I'm just kind of putting together some beautiful decks that I feel like resonate with a similar energy and kind of operate in the same sort of maybe vibration or resonance. And I'm just gonna kind of put them on the table and see what happens. These ones do not shuffle as well as the Kai Love Tarot. The Kai Love Tarot is a beautiful shuffle, but we're getting there. These are a little bit stiffer. This one shuffles pretty nicely. Not that it really matters, but I haven't worked with this one yet. So that was a really bad shuffle. Okay, so let's go ahead and do our one-shot reading. Now, as you may know or remember if you saw the other one, this is a completely intuitive process for me. So I just kind of start grabbing decks and I just start laying things down and I see what happens and see where it goes. I generally like to have some sort of a focal point, so I feel like the Crystal Forest deck is going to be great for giving us a focal point, and that's maybe going to be what our one-shot reading is going to be about. So I'm going to just kind of give this a little overhand too, and we're going to split and pull a card. And we got citrine with joy. That's beautiful. I'm going to get pretty large probably with this reading, so I'm not going to worry about trying to stay on my mat or anything like that. So hopefully that doesn't drive anybody bananas, but that's kind of where I'm at. So citrine, joy, that's a great energy. I'm feeling like let's pull some tarot with the Kai Love to see maybe where that joyous energy, that citrine energy is going to show up. So again, I just did a little overhand and I'm going to split and I'm going to draw out 2 cards because I'm feeling like 2 is good. We got the Hierophant and the 2 of Wands. So really interesting just first, like right out the gate. I mean, I try not to do too much interpretation as I go, but sometimes things like immediately spring to mind for me. There's no yellow. I mean, there is, right? Because like these are very colorful decks, but the citrine has a very distinct yellow color, and I'm not seeing that particular shade of yellow show up really anywhere in these 2 cards. Maybe a little bit behind the Hierophant, we kind of have this darker orange color here, and maybe just that, but that's kind of like the absence of joy in this reading or in this situation, the absence of that citrine color. So that's really interesting because sometimes for me, what a reading is about is sometimes what's not on the table. What's not there sometimes tells me more than what is. So I just think that's really interesting. That's something that just kind of caught my attention right off the bat. And I am going to be playing with color a lot with this because the whole point of the Crystal Forest deck is, I mean, it's a crystal deck, but really for me, it's about the color that shows up, and the energy that color has, the energy of the crystal. But again, because we're working with a visual medium here, I'm going to take into account that color. So now I've got the Spirit Animal Wisdom and I'm kind of just giving it a little overhand. Obviously I've riffled all of these, but I do like to do a little overhand before I pull my card. So I'm going to split and pull, and we're going to get an animal. Oh, we got a golden unicorn. How awesome is that? I love when all the colors start playing together. And I do like to kind of like arrange my cards as I go because I'm making a story here. I'm making a scene, if you will. I'm going to move these ones up just a little bit because I'm feeling like I need cards right here. At least. I'm thinking I need 2 Earth Alchemy cards right here. And this would be fine to sit with just this. So we have Ascension with the Golden Unicorn, Awaken to Your Soul's Potential with Citrine and Joy. I mean, how perfect are those 2 together? But I'm still feeling like the main color here is that yellow gold color, and that's not shown up in my tarot cards. So I kind of want to look at maybe why that is. So I'm going to pull some Earth Alchemy. And again, this is a deck that also has crystals. So we've got very much a crystal plant animal thing going on. And there's quite a bit of like sort of plant motif in the Kai Love Tarot as well. But let's figure out why that joy, why that ascension, that golden unicorn energy is not showing up for me, not showing up in my tarot cards, maybe not showing up in whatever situation maybe I'm in or just my life in general. Again, these are one shots, so they don't really apply to anything in particular. It's just doing a reading in the moment, having a play, seeing what comes out. So let's pull an Earth Alchemy. And again, gold with the apple. So we got rewriting, Queen Codes, her story, healing distortion. I'm feeling like this one needs to go over here with the Hierophant. Again, this is an intuitive process, so maybe I wouldn't necessarily, you know, I'm not pulling things in a certain spread or in a certain way. I'm just going with whatever feels right. And generally, if I'm going to pull another card, I would just pull it right off the top. Sometimes I might reshuffle, but I'm going to go ahead and just like pull the next card right off the top again. And this time, what did we get? We got labradorite with blue lotus flower for psychic gifts. Wise sage awareness and call to action. My apologies for the sun. It keeps coming and going outside the clouds, and I didn't like think to turn on other lights, so we're rolling with it. Because that is the whole point of these videos, is rolling with everything in the moment. So let's look at color now, because I feel like I finally got a tie in here a little bit, because there's these little blue splotches on this Two of Wands that kind of connects to this blue lotus for me. Also, these little stemmy things kind of match what's going on up here. And finally, we've got that yellow coming through here. So that gold color is really popping up in this reading. We have it in this central triangle, the central pyramid. Check that out. This little central triangle area all has that gold color. But the Hierophant and the Two of Wands do not. So again, I'm going to look at the Hierophant in relation to this gold and apple, this rewriting, this her story energy, which is really interesting with the Hierophant, because if you think about the Hierophant in a traditional tarot, it's generally a male figure. So the fact that it's a her story thing, maybe this is rewriting your story around the Hierophant. Maybe this is looking at what sort of things are you following that maybe aren't in alignment with what you really feel and think about the world. Like for me, the Hierophant, it's a conduit, like just in the general sense, it's a conduit. We often see it in regards to like being a spiritual teacher, but for me, it acts like in a very sort of primal soul level. It's the conduit between us and the divine, us and source, us and the thing that we're connected to. And so the Hierophant can be someone else, but it can also be you yourself, right? And this is says Queen Code. So this is about sovereignty. This is about owning the fact that you're a divine conduit. It's about owning the fact that you are in charge of your story and the beliefs that you follow and the traditions and things that you integrate into your life. That's totally within your control. So the fact that this doesn't have the gold color that is pulling me through this reading tells me that maybe at this point that's not something that that I'm engaged with on the deep level that I should be. Maybe I might want to look at places where I am following a story that isn't my own, right? Following traditions that aren't my own. And that's a really weird word when we say traditions and not your own, because generally traditions are stuff that's like passed down. So of course it's not your own. But what I mean is viewing the tradition, interacting with the tradition through your own lens and in your own way and with your own language. So that's really interesting. That's kind of what that little line is telling me. This little line over here is telling me that like, this is the goal. So this is now how I'm going to be reading this one shot. This is the goal, ascension to the soul's potential that's going to bring that joy, that connectedness. It's the golden unicorn that's going to come out of this. In order to do that, I have to recognize, anybody, right? Whoever this reading might be speaking to, in addition to me, I have to recognize that where I'm not acting in alignment with my own story, where I'm not being the Hierophant myself, maybe where I'm allowing others to be the Hierophant for me. I think it's really important to be our own Hierophant as well. It's great to look to teachers, to others to guide us, but we have to remember that like ultimately it's in our control what we do with that. So like, where am I not being my own Hierophant? Where am I, maybe living someone else's story, living by someone else's truth? That's preventing this from happening. And what I need to do is step into this Two of Wands energy with this labradorite, which is awesome. One of my favorite stones. It's one that I work with a lot with my deity. Blue lotus flower, tapping into those psychic gifts with that wise sage awareness and call to action. So like this, and Two of Wands is like, that's about like doing the work, right? Like in the ace, that's the full potential of what it is that you can create. And now in the two of wands, you step out and you start doing the work. You start creating the thing. I feel like this is telling us that like being open to the psychic gifts, being open to what is going to come through for us is what's going to fuel that creative work, that creative endeavor. And that's what's going to get us to that unicorn. So the really cool thing with like these one shots is I could keep adding, right? So now I've got my base message. So like what happens if I keep adding to this reading? So we've got this idea of where we need to focus, what's kind of holding us back from stepping into that, where we need to be focusing that energy. Let's see what else we might want to pull in here. I'm feeling like I could pull a little bit more tarot in because that's going to give us, I think, even more information. For me, Oracle is great for kind of like broad strokes things, but I like tarot for really digging in deeper. So we've got this whole idea over here of this Hierophant and the rewriting. So let's pull another tarot card to see maybe where we can actively engage with that or how we can actively engage with that. Let's see what comes up. So I'm going to just, again, split and pull. So we've got the Chariot. Again, not much in the way of that gold color, but there's a little bit of it here. So I'm feeling like that is going over there. And we've got a little bit of that Chariot action, which is telling me that like, okay, you got to take charge. That's the thing, right? You have to grab hold of the reins. You have to get out of this situation, out of this narrative that you're in here with this Hierophant energy and step forward into this golden unicorn. And I mean, how cool is it with the sort of horse unicorn thing we have going on? So I feel like that's great. That's the action we need to take. We need to take hold of the reins. Like it's good to know this is going on, but like until you actively do something with it, it's not going to change, right? Like we all know that on like a basic level, but sometimes like we need the reminder that yeah, it's great to get the message, but you have to actually do something with it if you expect anything to change there, right? Whether that's actively do something in your life, change your mindset, something has to shift. It's like that 5 energy in the tarot. If something doesn't happen to shift, to change things, you're always going to be stuck in the 4, right? And so that's very much a 5 energy. I know it's a 7 because it's Chariot, but like whatever, you get my drift, right? We need to do something with this. So let's see what the next card comes up. And we have the Fool. How awesome is that? So this one is over here. And this card to me basically says, you know, you need to do the work. That's great. This is what's going to support you being open to those psychic gifts. But the Fool reminds us that we don't always have to know the end all be all destination. We don't always have to be able to, see the end of the journey. The journey itself can be the treasure of the experience. And that Fool coming up over here on this side of the reading definitely feels like it's saying you just kind of got to trust. You got to trust in your own psychic gifts. You got to trust in the work that you're doing. You take that leap, you make the commitment, and you just do it. And I love that in this card, look, the Fool and the Chariot, so both the horse and the dog, are facing each other. They're facing into this reading here. And so this is telling me that this is what we need to bring in. And then the Fool is telling me like we need to just go ahead, trust in all of this, do the work, just kind of like have that faith, leap into the work. You don't have to absolutely know the end all be all what the outcome is going to be. You kind of just got to trust in the process. And this is so cool because I love the way that they're focused and faced in on each other. I feel like everything is collapsing into this citrine with the golden unicorn. I mean, I feel like that I couldn't have placed better if I like went through and actively picked cards out to lay down here, which is a totally valid way to read in my opinion. But I pulled those shuffle and random draw. So really cool that they came out that way. This to me is also such a beautiful reminder of the joy and the soul connection that reading the cards in and of itself provides. So that message is also kind of coming through for me, that reinforcing idea that by tapping into the cards, by using the cards in this way, accessing them as a tool, I am helping myself to awaken to my soul's potential. I'm getting in touch with my soul language, with my inner voice, and I'm listening to it. I'm using the cards to translate it, to decipher it, so that I can figure out what it is that is going to bring me that joy. And in this case, it's doing the work, trusting the journey, understanding that you have those psychic gifts and that awareness, but it does also here have a call to action. So it's a reminder that like, you can't just sit with this energy. You have to go out, you have to do the thing with it. And I think that's great with the Fool, because the Fool is always like on the edge of the cliff. I mean, not always, usually on the edge of the cliff. He's like ready to leap, right? So that's that call to action. He's being called into this reading, into this soul journey. It's a reminder that there are some challenges in this journey, right? But you have to take control of those. Otherwise, you're not going to get to the central focus point. And if you've watched my readings and spreads and things like that, you'll see that a lot of times this is kind of how I read in a general sense, is I start laying cards down. I do love spreads, don't get me wrong. I have a whole series on spreads, but I also really enjoy just laying cards down and seeing what messages come out. And then how I read them tends to be dictated by how I've laid the cards down, when I've laid the cards down. Also, I do tend to focus on like sort of central themes. There's always an anchor. I need an anchor for my message. If I'm not going to anchor it in a spread, then I need to anchor it in a card. And a lot of times I do both. I'll have a spread, but I'll also have like an anchor card, or what I often refer to as a focus card. This was the focus card. This is what the focus card is trying to get us to, right? This is the challenges that we're facing. This is what we need to do. This is how we're going to face those challenges. And this is the reminder of what we need to do in order to get this work done. So then I start reading them kind of like I did in the vignette spread, right? But I'm not reading these as three individual readings as I did with that one. I'm kind of piecing it together as I go, but it's not three individual readings. It's one reading that is evolved and kind of grown and expanded over the course of this video as I've been just laying down cards and seeing what they say to me intuitively. Now, of course, I could get into all the guidebooks for these decks, right? Let's see what it does actually say about citrine in the guidebook. So this is the Crystal Forest guidebook. So let's read what it says about citrine here, because I totally want to normalize using guidebooks in your readings. I think that there is absolutely nothing wrong with that. That's why we have them. So it says, warmth and clarity light your way in this forest. Sense the sunlight, release the scent of fresh green leaves all around you. The fragrance of sweet pine needles surround you. You notice the light catch on resin as it seeps down the bark of the trees around you. You feel ideas and inspiration stirring within you, in turn manifesting joy and excitement. Feel the sun's rays filling you with positivity and the knowledge that you have the ability to see the best way forward and have the courage to take it. So interesting, right? It's all about taking action with the things that bring you joy. Let's go ahead and jump into the spirit animal wisdom and see what Golden Unicorn has to say. Okay, so Spirit Wisdom Oracle with the Golden Unicorn here. So it is Ascension, of course, awaken your soul's potential. The Golden Unicorn is a higher frequency being that comes to our earthly dimension to help us. They share a close link to Venus and enable you to remember through the heart who you are. The Golden Unicorn wishes to connect you to all existence, all timelines, and all levels of your being. They come from the source with a mission to help you rise and remember. Invoke the Golden Unicorn to come and envelop you in its golden ascension rays. Visualize golden rays of light coming down from the cosmos into your head, through your crown in a column that reaches down to your heart space, giving it a full golden glow. Breathe in its magic, call the unicorn to you. And then there's also crystal companions. So while the crystals aren't featured on this deck, similar to the Earth Alchemy, has crystals. So tapping into that soul wisdom, that soul knowledge to evoke the joy that we're looking to find here. Not that we really need to read, I think, the oracles for the others, but let's go ahead and just give it a read. Okay, this guidebook is a little bit frustrating because it's not in alphabetical order, and it took me like 3 times reading through the list to find gold and apple, but that's okay. There's quite a bit in this little guidebook, so I'm not really gonna read through the whole thing. We'll just kind of pick out some things. It says, we are moving toward an elevated time in humanity's consciousness, and in order to move forward, you are being called to heal distortions in the matrices of this earth. We need to heal the distorted feminine caused over time through greed and power and control. Gold is an important symbol in this. It has been turned from something pure in Christ's energy into something materialistic, creating deep divisions. So really interesting, particularly when you're looking at those different dualities. So then it also talks about Apple too. Apple has come to you as a symbol of love, unity, abundance, and gratitude. She helps you bring forward self-knowledge through heart and third eye and connect with the feminine flow of water. The energy of the apple wishes to nourish you with sweet waters and help you to reharmonize your settled body energies. It also says this is deep. This work is deep, and if you find yourself under psychic attack, she's here to bring comfort and relief. That's really interesting combined with the psychic gifts card here. And just because we've gone this far, let's jump into labradorite and blue lotus flower if I can find it. It's the last one. So labradorite. Labradorite is an excellent psychic protector stone. Her energy is like a mystic, wise woman who wants to teach you how to protect and shield your energy whilst keeping your psychic senses open. So like she's a protective stone, psychically protected, and the blue lotus flower's medicine comes to pair with labradorite in the third eye to bring openness, elevation, and awareness to the subtle energies around you. Its energy will travel up from your third eye and into your crown to bring expansion to the higher mind and expand your intuition. So interesting. I mean, there's more, but we're not going to go into all of that because this is more of an intuitive process. Yes, I do get into the guidebooks sometimes for the oracle decks, as you saw. I could also get into the little booklet for the I Love Tarot, but like honestly, I've worked with this deck so much, don't really need to. But I do like to kind of go off like my intuitive hits first, particularly for these readings, because the whole process of this is intuitive, and I feel like to ignore my intuitive hits and my intuitive reflections on this reading would be a disservice to the reading on the whole because of how it's kind of designed and brought together. So that is our golden reading here. Like I keep thinking about like the Alice in Wonderland All in a Golden Afternoon just keeps popping into my head every time I see the golden and the apple and the unicorn. So maybe this is just all in a golden afternoon one-shot reading. And I never know what the names of these videos are going to be until I do the reading and figure out what it's about. Okay, so that is it for our one-shot reading today, our all in the golden afternoon. I would love to know if you do anything similar or if you give this little process a try. If you've worked with any of these decks, definitely let me know in the comments below. As always, I'll share links with everything I've shown here in the description box of this video. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today, and I look forward to sharing with you again soon.